Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So I wanted to talk about the Daryl Dixon teasers that we got yesterday. I wanted to talk about how that could actually relate to the plot, because I do think we actually got some really pretty crucial information yesterday regarding the plot. And I also want to talk about the World Beyond post-credit scene and why Daryl is actually there. And I think there is a CRM connection there. I don't think the story of the Daryl Dixon show, I just want to clarify, I don't think the story of the Daryl Dixon show is going to be about the CRM. It's not going to be that, but I do think the reasoning for Daryl being there is that, but obviously the story that's going to be heavily featured there is going to be something unrelated, and I do think it's a whole advanced walkers plot, and I think there's a connection here between this new character named Codron and obviously the post-credit scene. So before we go any further, obviously make sure to be a subscriber. If you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this, next week, they will still be doing an hour event. So apparently the actual panel is, before I think it was 2.5 hours. I believe it's been cut down to an hour now. So they're still going to have the Walking Dead Universe panel. I don't know who's going to be there. It could just be people at AMC, executives at AMC and all that are there that are going to reveal some stuff and talk about some things. I don't know exactly who they could have. I'm pretty sure you have to be a part of the union to not show up, right? So what if you're not a part of the union? Can you still show up? I imagine there's a lot of pressure to not show up still. So there's not going to be any actors there. That's for sure. So I don't know. It might just be one of those things where there's a presentation, it's going to be more so just kind of that. I don't know who they're really allowed to have there. It really, really depends. And whoever goes, I don't know who they're going to be allowed to have there. And that's the thing. Whoever goes, it could, they could receive a bunch of criticism, so they might not want to go, right? So we're going to have to wait and see on that. I mean, I'm not entirely sure how this is all going to play out, but they are still going to be having an hour event. Apparently the news that we got yesterday with the release dates for Daryl Dixon and for Fear the Walking Dead were supposed to come out at Comic-Con. So we got some stuff about a week earlier. I imagine that's probably what they're going to be doing. There's going to be a bunch of announcements over the next week on a bunch of things, but then next Friday, they're still going to release the trailers and all that for Daryl Dixon. There's probably going to be a teaser trailer for Rick and Michonne. And I think they're still saving that for that. So yeah, just 6 more days until we get all of that. And definitely if you're interested, I do have a Patreon. I will be posting the first vlog tomorrow. It's been really weird filming stuff and getting into some personal stuff and sort of showing what my life is like, just sort of what my house is like and all of that. But it's been kind of nice as well. So it's, I'm editing that today and also tomorrow, but the vlog will be out tomorrow. So yeah, if you've joined the Patreon, you'll get that tomorrow, and then there'll be one every single Sunday for the most part. So we got some new photos yesterday. And yeah, obviously there was a lot of some newer characters. The one character that really stood out of all of the characters for me personally was this character named Codron. Now, he might not be a villain. He just sort of gives off this very villainous vibe. And I'm just really wondering if he actually is. Because out of all the newer characters that we got yesterday, most of them seem like good characters. They all kind of seem like they could be on Daryl's side. But I imagine you're going to reveal some villains and all that, right? Because I know on Dead City, when they released a bunch of photos in the same manner, you had the Croat, you had the Marshal. I wouldn't classify the Marshal as a villain, but obviously at first he sort of was, and now I would say he's not necessarily a villain anymore. The Croat, though, we got some photos of him and stuff, so I believe that Codron is the villain. I could be wrong about this, but I do think he probably is a villain. And I do think the plot here is connected to the World Beyond post-credit scene. So now, in that post-credit scene, Dr. Jenner talked about these advanced walkers, over there in Atlanta and wherever, that they were just dealing with normal slow walkers. That woman in that scene mentioned a few things there, but then after, obviously, when she died, she became this advanced walker, which was kind of cool. That scene was just very cryptic, and it was just we were all wondering what this meant. Does this mean that there's a bunch of, I remember back then everyone thought, is this a tease that there's all these advanced walkers in France, and that those walkers are going to somehow end up in America for the final season? Obviously, that's not the case. That was more of a tease, I guess, for the Daryl Dixon show. Daryl, we see in one of the first teasers that we got for this show, he ends up in the same location. And this is likely the first episode. He's probably just walking around exploring things. He ends up in this exact same location. So these walkers are here. So this is going to be a big part of the plot of that. But where it does get very interesting is you got to remember, a man walked in that room and was really, really upset with that woman. And he kept saying, you started this, you and all your teams and everything that you did, the team in Ohio and all of that. you started all of this here. And there was a lot of talk of like something that was created, something that, and again, you could sort of maybe you can equate that to the start of the zombie virus. I don't think the franchise is going there. I don't think the show wants to get into anything like that right now. I think where they're going with this is more of the variant of Walker. I think that they probably made it worse because it's exactly what they say in the scene, right? Like he says, like, you made it worse. And so he kills that woman and walks right out. So to me, that kind of says like whatever group he's with, he was assigned to take out the scientist and all of that. And so there's something there. And I do think Codron is related to that person who obviously took that woman out. And that's what I mean. There seems to be an advanced Walker plot of some sorts. Like whatever happened here, whoever did what, like whatever scientists were responsible for this seem to have created something really, really dangerous in France. And so I think that is going to be so crucial to the plot here. And I think that's what Daryl's going to be dealing with here, which is kind of cool. Like it's actually really cool that the plot of all of this is really connected to Dr. Jenner. And well, at least they made it connected to that, right? In a sense that he became aware of just the variant of Walker that was there in France. And it's interesting. Like I do actually really wonder who caused the variant and why it happened. And I guess that's what the show's going to be getting into. And I actually wonder if the villain here is going to use these walkers as sort of a weapon. Because I know there was some sort of mention of that at some point. I don't know where I read it or where I saw it, but I did see it somewhere where there was like this villain that sort of had this like, I'm going to rule the world mentality kind of thing. And again, I could be wrong with that, but I do wonder if there's like a connection there with the advanced walkers and, you know, using them as some sort of weapon, which would be kind of interesting because we haven't really had that as a tactic. Like, yes, people have used walkers as weapons, I guess, in a sense, but not in a sense to like rule the world. Like the show hasn't really done that or went down that route. Like I know that's very Wesker like from Resident Evil, you know, but I do wonder if this show could sort of tap into that a little bit. Don't go all out and go into that. You know, you don't want to create like a Resident Evil 5 sort of thing like the video game, but it would be interesting. You know, like I do wonder if they're going to be going into that a little bit, but it is very possible. You know, when you get to bigger organizations like that, at least in this universe, they seem to have pretty big goals like that. And I guess I did mention before that we've never seen anyone use walkers as like a weapon, but we did see the CRM do that, right? Like the CRM used, I guess, what they called columns, which was like these just massive horde of walkers just wipe out communities, right? And they also use other weapons and stuff like that to do the same thing, but they do use walkers in that sense. So it's possible that what Daryl is dealing with is very similar. And the reason why I think there's going to be a CRM connection, and first of all, there's not going to be a CRM connection in the sense that we're literally going to see like the three-ringed logo. There's going to be all of that. Like, I don't think the CRM is going to be mentioned at all, pretty much the entire first season. Like, maybe in the finale, if Daryl finds out why he's there, he realizes that like, oh, this group here, or he learns that this group did this because of maybe he got closer to Rick or something like that. Like, it's probably going to be something like that. There could be a reason as to why Carol is there because Carol found out what Daryl was doing. Like, there may be a reason as to why Carol was there. Like, I think that could be a thing, right? Like, maybe Carol was with Daryl and then something happened sort of thing. Like, I could see that, and then that's how Carol sort of got the lead that Daryl was in France, right? Like, there's got to be a connection there in some ways. So I think that's sort of how it's related here. And I really do think it's CRM related because, like, how else is Daryl going to get across, right? Like, I know people keep saying he was tied to a raft and thrown into the Atlantic, and then all of a sudden, somehow he ended up across the Atlantic Ocean in France. That's not what the story is. Like, I can't believe people actually believe that. Like, they're literally just showing him tied to a raft really close to the shore, and that's how he ends up there. Like, it has nothing to do with him going all the way across. Like, I think that's so ridiculous. Like, obviously, he was dropped off there, and they didn't want to kill him. They actually wanted him to survive, so there's a reason for that. Like, maybe they wanted him to do something with this group. Maybe the CRM sent Daryl there in a sense because he thought that maybe he could actually take out this group here. Like, there's so many explanations for this here. Like, there's a reason for that. But yeah, that's my overall prediction here. I do think that's probably where they're going here. And I'm just really excited to see how the advanced walkers are going to play a role in the story. Because out of all three shows, this is the show that I think is going to showcase a lot of that. Because Dead City, you know, we're seeing some cool walkers. Episode 5 had a really amazing walker. But, like, there's not a lot of, like, advanced walkers. The Rick and Michonne show, I don't think is really getting into that much. I think it's going to be more focused on the CRM and some pretty just like, you know, end of world stuff, you know, in terms of the story. Daryl Dixon's going to be getting into some of this stuff here. So this show, you know, definitely that part of it is a feature that I really, really like. So we'll have to wait and see where this goes. But yeah, I'm going to leave it here. Make sure to post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one.